Hi, good morning. Today we will proceed with chapter 1. Chapter 1 is on Introduction to Information Technology. Okay, so the next slide is about the chapter outcomes, listing all of the items that you may get out of this chapter. Okay, now let's go to slide number 3. Slide number 3 is about the definition of a computer. Now in this slide you can see that there are four ways of describing about a computer. Now let's take a look at this slide, at these four ways. I just read it out to you one by one. Okay. Now uh, a computer is an electronic device for storing and processing data, typically in binary form according to instructions given to it in a variable program. Now that is one way you can describe a computer. A computer is an electronic device that is designed to work with information. A computer is an advanced electronic device that takes raw data as input from the user and processes this data under the control of set of instructions called program, and gives the result or output and saves output for the future use. It can process both numerical and non-numerical or arithmetic and logical calculations. Now this is the longer version of describing a computer. An electronic device operating under the control of instructions stored in its own memory. Now, you can choose any of these actually, because these are the four options where you can describe a computer. You can choose one that you can remember better. All right. Now, let's go to the next slide. Now, in the previous slide, it's all about describing on what is a computer. Now, the current slide is on data and information. Now, data and information is actually two different things, which people they just literally assume that it's actually the same, but no. Data and information is actually two different items. Okay. Now, data. What is data? Data is input. Well, usually when we input what? We input data. For example, when we key in, that is data, all right, and input. So what you see on screen is your input, and what is from your screen is actually information. Sorry. So when you key in, you type on your keyboard, right? You key in what? You key in data. Now, what you see on screen, on your monitor, or something from your printer, now that is information. Now that is the difference of data and information. So in between, there's a process when I key in using my keyboard, right? So what I key in is actually data or input, and then this data or input will be processed by the CPU. So after it is being processed, it will be output. Output could be in a form of display using the monitor, or it could be by printed materials. Okay, so this is considered output. So yeah, there's a part there, storage. Storage meaning it could be temporary storage, it could be permanent storage. Temporary meaning when I type something right using the keyboard, right? So that is, again, I said just now, it's data or input. So if I type A, the monitor will show A, and it will stays there for a period of time. So that is storage, where I key in the data, it will be stored there. So storage is needed so that it doesn't disappear. You just imagine you type A and it disappears because of there's no storage, there's no memory to support. All right. So these are the components that is related with data and information. When you take a look at the slide, actually this slide is more towards describing to you the difference between data and information, and the components related to it is input, process, output, and storage. Okay, I hope you can imagine that, and I hope that you can understand about data and information. Now, I just conclude here. Data is input, okay, and this input needs storage or temporary memory so that it stays there. And but before it stays there, it has to be processed by the CPU. Then it will appear in the monitor as information. Okay, so that is the conclusion of this slide. Now let's go to the next slide. Okay, the next slide tells you about the 5 main components of a computer. There are only 5 main, the common ones actually. The most books they will tell you the same story. Okay, number 1 is input device. This is the main component. Output device, system unit, storage device, and communication device. An example of an input device is like keyboard, mouse. These are the input devices. An example of output devices like printer, monitor, speaker, all right? Something that gives output. The next component is system unit. System unit is that CPU, you know, that big box where you can see all of the components inside, the motherboard, the memory, you know, the RAM. So this is the CPU, right? Or you can say it's the system unit. Now next is storage device. Storage device, an example of a storage device is like those USB, and then CD, all right? So these are examples of storage devices. Then lastly is the communication device. Communication device, every computer nowadays, there is always facility to attach to hotspot, for example. Now, that is an example of communication device. Besides that, Wi-Fi, modem, these are examples of communication devices. Okay, so in conclusion, there are 5 main components of a computer, which is the input, output, device, next is the system unit, and next is the communication device, and finally the storage device. So these are the 5 main components of a computer. Okay, now we go to the next slide. The next slide shows you a graphic that describes all of these components in one computer set. Yeah, it gives you in the next slide the second example. Okay, now move forward. There's this slide about types of software. Software. Now, in the previous slides, the 5 main components is more towards the hardware. Now let's talk about the software. Software is needed to get the computer operating. Okay, so now software, there are 2 types. One is system software and another is application software. Okay, so basically that is what you need to know. In the next slide, it describes to you about application software. In this slide here, application softwares like computer games, spreadsheets, word processors, database. So basically, these are the applications or softwares or apps that you that you can use to execute tasks, to do your homework, to do your to do calculations, to learn about cooking, for example. So these are examples of application softwares. Examples are like Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Chrome, Google, you know, Chrome browser. Okay, so something that is you can access by just clicking and typing. So that is the application software. Okay, in the next slide, it tells you about the differences of system software and application software. So the system software, I would like to describe to you just briefly about these two. Application software is that type where you use to execute tasks. Okay. Now the system software is used for usually computer setup and for computer maintenance. So this is that piece of software that is meant for the whole operation of the computer. Uh, so when you when you on your computer, what you will see at first is the computer will try to on. At first you'll see the not the application software. The application software is when you see when everything is on. So what runs at first is the system software. The system software runs at first. It will check the computer for viruses, and then sometimes the loading will be slow. This is the work of the system software to get the computer up and running before you can use it. So when you're using it, you're using the application software. Okay, the next slide tells you about the categories of computers. So there are 7 categories in this slide. Sorry. We have supercomputers, mainframe computers, mini computers, microcomputers, mobile computers, server and embedded computers. So these are the main. All right, the main. So most of the time we are using just mobile computers most of the time. So the category number 5. All right. So please read through, and at least you memorize these 7 categories, and go online to see examples of these categories, at least for you to know. All right. Now next is the network. What is network? Okay. Network is, now when you talk when we say the word network, what comes into mind? Well, we have DG network, we have Maxis network. So DG, Maxis, Cellcom, TM, they have their own networks. Now this network contains a lot of users. What do they have? They have computers, they can have handphones. So these are devices. In that network, they are all connected together. So anyone can call whoever, or send a message, or downloading video from one site to another. So meaning to say there's communication. Okay, a network is actually where you can see all devices are connected together. So this is a definition of a network. Now let's take a look at the definition. A collection of computers, servers, mainframes, network devices, peripherals, or other devices connected to one another to allow the sharing of data. So simple. So this is the definition of network. Okay, now the next slide tells you about internet. Internet is a type of network, whereby this network is a global connected networks. We have DG, we have Maxis, right? We have Cellcom, we have TM. So these are individual networks. But if like for example, I'm a DG user, I'm calling someone using Maxis, yeah, I can do that. We can do that. So this is the internet, whereby everyone is connected together globally. Now that is the internet. Okay, now the next slide is on WWW. Now or 3W stands for World Wide Web. Now, a World Wide Web is that term that describes the facility that you can access from. An example of www are those online products like Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, and then applications that you can use via online. So these are facilities provided by World Wide Web, right? So I hope that you can see the differences here between the internet and the World Wide Web. These are actually two different items, okay? Internet, as I've said to you just now, is a type of network, a network that is globally connected. So everyone is connected to the internet. It is the hardware facility. The triple W or World Wide Web is actually that software, a software that you use to get connected to others. So internet is the hardware, www or World Wide Web is the software, and I hope that you can see the difference here. All right. Okay, next slide tells you about the usage of internet. Internet is used for e-shopping, could be for e-banking, it could be for just downloading video, entertainment, education, and so on and so forth. All right. So just glance through. Okay, so moving forward, there's a slide about advantages and disadvantages of computers. So computers are usually people that talk more good than bad. So from this slide, you can see it's actually the computer has also its dark side, right? Now in the next slide, it tells you about green computing. Okay, now green computing, knowing that the best part about using a computer is that we don't have to write anymore. It's just online, so it's a paperless work. So this is green computing. Green computing involves reducing the electricity consumed and environmental waste generated when using a computer. That is the definition of green computing. Green computing strategies including recycling, regulating manufacturing processes, extending the life of computers, immediately donating or properly disposing of replaced computers. This is green computing concept, but at least you know what is green computing. What is it actually, right? And the strategies. In the old days, we need to use a lot of paper, but now no need. All right. So that is an example of green computing. So I guess that's it for chapter 1. I hope to see you again in chapter 2. Bye.